Elite Facts presents
50 random facts you may not have known. Number 5.
50.
Vikings used the bones of slain animals when smithing new weapons, believing this would enchant the weapon with the animal's spirit. This actually made the weapon stronger because the carbon in the bones coupled with the iron made a primitive version of steel.
49.
Mainland China has a population in excess of 1 billion people, while less than 1 million are foreigners. This gives China the lowest score in the world for migrant percentage of total population, less than North Korea.
48.
Tommy Chong and the Wolf of Wall Street's Jordan Belfort shared a cell while in prison. Chong is the one who encouraged him to write about his experiences, which then turned into the critically acclaimed movie of the same name.
47.
From when it was discovered to when it was declassified as a planet, Pluto did not make a full orbit around the Sun.
46.
Natural gas has no smell. The smell that people associate with natural gas, mercaptan, is added to the gas lines to allow people to detect it before an accident occurs.
45.
Human beings only use one nostril at a time. Each nostril takes a turn at being dormant, about 5 minutes, as the other nostril does all the work. The process is then reversed and the resting nostril takes over. Confirm this with an ENT doctor.
44.
When Sweden plays Denmark in Sweden, the scoreboard says SWEDEN. The remaining letters read Den and Mark.
43.
In Anchorman, during the Sex Panther scene, Paul Rudd was determined to make Will Ferrell laugh and break character since it was always the other way around. He thought that this would be accomplished with the 60% of the time it works every time line. Will fired back with the "that doesn't even make sense" line without skipping a beat, once again making Paul and the others break character yet again.
42.
Treadmills were invented as a reforming device for prisoners. They were originally more like step machines and powered mills, which is where the name comes from. Prisoners would walk on them for 6 hours a day and was credited with keeping them too tired to cause trouble. Eventually, they were banned as cruel and unusual punishment, and now people use them voluntarily.
41.
You can actually fit every planet in the solar system between planet Earth and the Moon. There's even just enough space for Pluto to fit in.
40.
The Joker was based on a 1920s character dubbed the Laughing Man, who's horribly disfigured from birth and left with a permanent grimace.
39.
In the time it takes to play the Proclaimers hit 500 miles, the International Space Station will travel 500 miles and 500 more.
38.
There are more bacteria than human cells in a human body, and if you didn't have most of those bacteria, you would die.
37.
Alan Ford will love this one. Pigs can eat 10 to 15 pounds of meat in 30 minutes, so a 200-pound human body would be gone in 30 minutes if you had 20 pigs that only ate 10 pounds of meat each. Otherwise, it would take one pig 10 hours to eat the body, and that's not quick enough.
36.
Life began 3.8 billion years ago, and the sun will die in 5 billion years. So we're over a third of the way to life's sell-by date.
35.
Cleopatra wasn't pure Egyptian. She may not have had any Egyptian in her bloodline at all. We don't know for sure, but what we do know is that her ancestry is almost purely Macedonian. It's said that it's almost because we know that her grandmother wasn't Macedonian.
34.
For Alien, H.R. Geiger used real human skulls, some of which, judging by their teeth, appeared to be children. He purchased them from India to design the xenomorph's head.
33.
Oddly enough, did you know that George Miller directed both the Mad Max franchise and Happy Feet? Sort of makes sense considering both films don't focus on the main character, but rather focuses on the world surrounding them instead.
32.
Apparently, Ronald Reagan was amused by Doc Brown's disbelief that an actor like him could become president, so much so that he had the projectionist stop and replay the scene. He also seemed to enjoy it so much that he even made a direct reference of the film in his 1986 State of the Union address. Quote, "As they said in the film Back to the Future, where we're going, we don't need roads."
31.
In the flower shop scene in The Room, where Johnny says, "Oh, hi, doggy," that was a genuine reaction. He didn't realize that the dog was, in his own words, a real thing.
30.
During the shoot of The Shining, Stanley Kubrick actually scared Shelley Duvall, who played Wendy, to the point that in the scene where she gets slowly chased up the stairs by Jack while trying to defend herself with a baseball bat, she was actually terrified. Apparently, the scene was shot 127 times, and Kubrick kept putting her down for every mistake as a way to get the right performance out of her. As harsh as it was, it worked.
29.
Apparently, Bob Marley's last words to his son Ziggy were, quote, "Money can't buy life."
28.
Did you know that the British Secret Service, James Bond's employer, really can issue a license to kill? It's called a Class 7 authorization and must be approved by the MI6 agent's superiors all the way up to the foreign minister.
27.
The term hot dog is credited to sports cartoonist Tad Dorgan. At a 1901 baseball game at the Polo Grounds in New York, vendors began selling hot Dachshund sausages in rolls. From the press box, Dorgan could hear the vendors yelling, quote, "Get your Dachshund sausages while they're red hot."
26.
Michael Jackson, Prince, and Madonna were all born in the Great Lakes region within 2 months of each other in 1958.
25.
Everest was what is called the graveyard in the clouds, which is from the hikers dying that haven't been found or are unable to be recovered. But from time to time, their bodies reappear after a glacier move or avalanche.
24.
It took until season 4 of Rocko's Modern Life for the character's favorite restaurant, Choky Chicken, to be renamed Chewy Chicken, due to it being a dirty joke that is unsuitable for kids.
23.
A Cheeto shaped like Harambe was sold for nearly $100,000 in 2016.
22.
Did you know that there are actually 2 007 Casino Royale films? The non-official one was released back in 1967 and starred David Niven as James Bond, Orson Welles as Le Chiffre, and Woody Allen as the main villain and James Bond's nephew, Jimmy Bond. There was also a miniseries on television in 1955 of Casino Royale where Bond was American.
21.
Did you also know that Sir Roger Moore wanted to be a stand-up comedian but wasn't very good at it? Rest in peace.
20.
Did you know that Paul McCartney was paid only £1 for appearing in the 2012 London Olympics closing ceremony?
19.
Following the release of The Lion King, one hyena researcher sued Disney for defamation of character for portraying hyenas as villains.
18.
The sun makes up 99.86% of the mass of the solar system and can fit 1.3 million Earths inside it.
17.
Eating extremely high amounts of carrots can lead to carotenemia, a condition where the pigmentation of the skin turns orange.
16.
Tyrannosaurus arms were each only 1 meter long and heavily muscled, with biceps capable of lifting several hundred pounds alone. They only appear small and weak relative to the rest of its body.
15.
In the first edition of The Hobbit, Gollum freely bet the One Ring on the riddle contest with Bilbo Baggins.
14.
The Last of Us was spawned from the concept art for a reboot of Jak and Daxter.
13.
McDonald's was supposed to revamp the Golden Arches in 1960, but a psychologist argued to keep it because it resembled breasts, giving Freudian applications to the subconscious mind of the consumer.
12.
Gary Cooper was offered a part on the movie Gone with the Wind, but rejected it, saying, "Gone with the Wind is going to be the biggest flop in Hollywood history. I'm glad it'll be Clark Gable who's falling flat on his nose and not me." It became the highest grossing film of all time, based on inflation.
11.
It takes longer to drown in salt water than it does in fresh water.
10.
In the original telling of Batman's origin story, only Thomas Wayne was murdered, and upon seeing her husband die in front of her, Martha Wayne went into shock and died of a heart attack.
9.
When Mr. T was in the army, he was ordered to cut down trees as punishment, but wasn't told how many. He cut down 70 trees in less than 4 hours.
8.
Henry VIII drank 70 pints of ale a week, consumed 5,000 calories a day, and the waist measurement of his last coat of armor was 58 to 60 inches.
7,
The Flintstones was the first ever animated show to air during prime time.
6,
Dwayne Johnson is on the Guinness Book of World Records for most selfies in 3 minutes by taking 105 selfies with his fans at the premiere of one of his movies.
5,
Ben & Jerry's has a graveyard for discontinued flavors.
4,
Morgan Freeman turned down a drama scholarship because he dreamed of being an Air Force fighter pilot. He spent 4 years as a tracking radar repairman. At the age of 65, he finally earned his private pilot license.
3,
George Lazenby, star of the 1969 James Bond film On Her Majesty's Secret Service, declined a 7-film contract with a $1 million bonus with the studio after completing his role as Bond because he thought James Bond is over. It's all about peace now, not war. You know, hippie times. Oh, how wrong he was.
2,
The theme to the children's cartoon series Arthur was written by the son of Bob Marley, Ziggy Marley.
1.
Chewing gum boosts mental performance and is considered to be a better test aid than caffeine.
Don't forget to like us and subscribe for more elite facts.